Mr. President, I rise today to honor one of our nation's true heroes, Army Staff Sergeant Clint Romesha. On Monday, the President will present Sergeant Romesha with our country's highest military award, the Medal of Honor, for, quote, acts of gallantry above and beyond the call of duty, end quote. Clint comes from a long line of military heroes. His father is a veteran of the Vietnam War. His grandfather fought in the U.S. Army during World War II. Romesha often cites his grandfather as his greatest hero, so it wasn't surprising that Clint followed his example and joined the Army in 1999. Staff Sergeant Romesha showed courage every day that he donned his Army uniform, but especially on October 3rd, 2009, one of the deadliest days of the war in Afghanistan. On that day, hundreds of Taliban fighters ambushed American combat outpost Keating from all sides with grenades, machine guns, mortars, and rifles. Heavily outnumbered, Clint Romesha and his fellow soldiers quickly fought back in what would turn out to be a deadly day-long battle. Sergeant Romesha fought valiantly. He darted into danger to draw out the enemy many times. He himself took out a machine gun team. Staff Sergeant Romesha was working to take out a second when he was wounded by shrapnel from an exploding grenade. His Medal of Honor citation reads, quote, undeterred by his injuries, Staff Sergeant Romesha continued to fight, and upon the arrival of another soldier to aid him and the assistant gunner, he again rushed through the exposed avenue to assemble additional soldiers. With complete disregard for his own safety, he continually exposed himself to heavy enemy fire as he moved confidently about the battlefield, engaging and destroying multiple enemy targets, end quote, as the citation states. Staff Sergeant Romesha exemplified the valor that President Theodore Roosevelt, also a Medal of Honor recipient, spoke of when he said, quote, courage is not having the strength to go on, it is going on when you don't have the strength, end quote. Despite his wounds, Sergeant Romesha never stopped fighting. He stayed in the battle, leading his team, directing air support, protecting wounded soldiers, and helping to recover the bodies of his fallen friends. The battle lasted for 12 hours. 8 soldiers lost their lives and 22 were wounded, a fact that Romesha humbly reminds us of whenever his bravery is touted. In fact, Sergeant Romesha said, quote, what I got injured with was nothing. I have buddies who lost their eyesight, who lost limbs. For that, I would rather give them all the credit they deserve for the sacrifices they made. For me, it was nothing, end quote. To Sergeant Romesha, it was just doing his job. To the rest of us, he's a true example of courage and selfless sacrifice. He went above and beyond the call of duty, repeatedly risking his life to defend his post and, more importantly, to help his fellow soldiers. We are grateful for his service and for his example to us all. Today, Clint resides in Minot, North Dakota, where he and his wife, Tamara, are raising their 3 children. I'm certain that he is every much the hero and inspiration to them that his own grandfather was to him. My wife, Mikey, and I join our fellow North Dakotans and Americans in honoring Sergeant Romesha for his heroic and selfless service. We thank him for his exemplary actions on that dangerous day in Afghanistan and every day that he served our great country. With that, Mr. President, I yield the floor and note the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call.